Hello, everyone. Dr. Amanda here. Did you know that the average person in the US sleeps about 6 hours and 57 minutes a night? And 20% of Americans sleep less than 6 hours a night. And our young adults usually sleep less than 7 hours. And you may be thinking, okay, yeah, what does this have to do with my health? We know that sleep is very important to our health and well being, not for us only just to feel rested and refreshed for the morning, but our bodies actually needs this time of rest and sleep. So, what would some of the costs of what we call insomnia or trouble sleeping would cost the workplace, whether you're your own boss or you work for someone? Most people are less productive at work because they're sleepy, they're trying to do other things to stay awake. And so they may spend the whole 8 hours on one task instead of, being very productive and get several tasks done in an 8 hour period. It increases the risk for disability, and a lot of people do not consider this, especially younger people, because they usually work long hours and then have to do things after work and then maybe try to sleep 4 or 5 hours and get up and do it all over again. So again, this is going to increase your risk for becoming disabled because you may hurt yourself at work. You may make mistakes at work or make errors. And depending on what type of work you do, if you sit down at a desk all day, that may not be as detrimental to your health or to the health of your employer or your business. But if you work on machines, or if you're a driver, or if you are a physician or surgeon or something like that, in our field, those mistakes can cost someone their life or your own life, right? And I think back to being in medical school and residency about sleep and how this can cause accidents. And I've always been a sleeper. I've loved to sleep since I was 2 weeks old. My parents would tell me that they thought something was wrong with me because I would sleep through the night as a 2 week old, and they would hover over my crib like, is she still alive? But I would sleep. But yeah, so going back to being in residence or a medical school, I remember being tired after like a clinic call or hospital call and trying to drive home. And if anyone ever drove while sleepy, that's more risk that you're taking with your life and others' lives than if you were to drive intoxicated. And the feeling of a sleepless night after call, it feels like you have a hangover. I used to describe it as that way, and it's just a horrible feeling. So we definitely want to make sure we get our sleep in. So what does healthy sleep do for our body? It actually decreases our cortisol, decreases our glucose levels, and reduce food-seeking behavior, especially at nighttime. And a lot of us that are people that have struggled with weight or struggle with our blood sugars, blood pressure, things like that, the sleep can actually help with those illnesses or food-seeking behaviors. Because what do we do usually if we're tired? Well, at least I know I do. If I'm tired, I look for something to eat to try to give me that energy to stay awake instead of just going to sleep sometimes. And sometimes our body just needs the rest. Even if you're like, I have to finish a project, I have to go here to the store. Sometimes just resting, even for 15 or 20 minutes, giving your body that recharge it needs definitely can help. Now, if we have impaired sleep, what will actually happen, or what could happen? Our glucose levels could go up. So especially for someone that is a diabetic or pre-diabetic, that's the opposite of what you want. And sometimes you may be thinking, I'm doing every single thing I can. I'm trying to eat the right foods. I'm trying to stay active. I'm trying to drink my water, everything that we suggest for a diabetic. But maybe you're not getting the adequate amount of sleep. And therefore your body is causing your glucose levels to be higher. Most of the time we eat higher carbohydrate dense foods. Usually if we're have seeking behavior at nighttime, we're not looking for carrots and celery. We're looking for chips and crackers and donuts and heavily buttered popcorn or something like that. Something that's dense and that will keep us awake. And we tend to eat more saturated fat. Just like I was saying, it wouldn't be just, good healthy popcorn. It'd be some that is smothered with butter or something like that. So again, that's not going to serve our body and the health that we need. Add on extra weight in pounds that we don't need because we're just not doing what our body is telling us and telling us that we need to sleep. It also can increase our risk for high cholesterol, increase our BMI, our body mass index, and increase our risk for obesity. So again, like I was saying, with the other things that we're doing can actually increase the weight because of that. It also increases our risk for metabolic syndrome, which is insulin resistance that then can go on to lead to other illnesses like diabetes, of course, type 2 diabetes if we're not careful, increase our cardiovascular risk like having a heart attack or a stroke because it's increasing everything else, increasing our cortisol level, increasing our blood pressure, especially at night. And it decreases our alertness and cognitive processing. So again, making mistakes and errors, things that if we were alert and well rested, we would not actually make those mistakes. So I know this resonates with a lot of you all. Because I know when I was reading about sleep, I'm thinking, I have no trouble sleeping, but I actually do have issues to where I would try to push myself past my limits of what my body is telling me. So we definitely want to listen to our body so we can actually get that DNA repair and histone remodeling so our body can get the healthy sleep. So it helps our immune system, especially in cold and flu season, or even as making this recording during the COVID pandemic. So we want to make sure that we are sleeping well. Okay, there's even been a few studies that relate sleep disturbances to different types of cancer, including breast cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer, and endometrial cancer. So not only will we feel tired, not only will we be less productive, but our body can start to form different diseases and illnesses because of lack of sleep. So sleep is very important. So now that I said that sleep is important and you're having trouble sleeping, what can you do? So the most important thing I would say is to establish a sleep-wake cycle. And it's like, what does that mean? So you want to go to bed at the same time and you want to wake up at the same time. I was a person that loved the Saturday, Sunday sleeping in, and maybe you can do that an hour, but you don't want to do that 3 hours. So you don't want to usually get up at like 5 a.m. and then not get up until 8 a.m. on the weekend because your body needs to be in that cycle and to be the best that it can be. So you definitely want to establish that. Now, if you're on vacation, that may be a little bit different. But you want to try to stick with it as much as possible. I know that my family, when we get together, we have trouble doing that because we like to stay up late and make the most of the hours that we have together. But we want to be careful when we do that. We also want to minimize light and background noise exposure because that will keep us awake and keep us from actually being able to fall asleep and then stay asleep. We also want to increase our daytime activity and our daytime light exposure. So especially during the summertime when you can be outside for the hours that are longer during the day, be outside and let our body expose to that light. So then when we go in to actually go to sleep and we start to dim our lights, which is the next recommendation, then our body will understand that it's now time to relax and settle down to actually go to sleep because we've been full of all the light exposure and our body was awake, and now we're starting to dim that, and our body and our brain is smart enough to know that it's time to rest. We also want to limit our caffeine and limit our alcohol, especially 3 hours prior to going to bed at night. And then again, like I said, we want to avoid a late night snacking and high sodium foods, especially at dinner time. And then try to start to wind down at least 1 hour before going to bed. So if your bedtime is usually at, like me, 9 p.m., I'll turn on Golden Girls and know that that's my settling down time, and then get that timer, turn that TV off, which can be very hard for me. But then that will signal to my body it's time to rest and start my recovery period. So I hope you've learned a lot about sleep and the importance of it on today. And I want to invite you that if you are someone that is struggling with your health and wellness goals and you want to try to get unstuck, I am actually providing free discovery calls, which we call wellness calls, that you can actually apply, or you can actually, my words are leaving me, maybe I need to go to sleep. You can actually sign up for these calls on my website, and I will put that in the comments below. And I guess that with my mind and productivity, I need to go take a nap, right? So just imagine that you take this to heart, you actually listen, and you're like, okay, I know that I can put myself at least on a schedule. So I know that I'm not working past certain hours, and I find that when I actually shut it down, I am more productive the next day than trying to burn the midnight oil, and my life and business and family are better off for it. All right, blessings and health to y'all. Bye-bye.